guys, my name is Alex. I am the Hungry Health Coach, and today I am hungry for information. I'm going to share with you about dystonia, which is a condition that I have, and hopefully you can gather some more information about that if you're experiencing it yourself, if someone in your family is experiencing it, or maybe just kind of general knowledge so that you know what other people are dealing with. Dystonia is a neurological condition. It affects the basal ganglia, which is the part of your brain, kind of back here, that shoots signals to your body. And so what's happened is that the basal ganglia gets kind of confused, or maybe it's been damaged, and so when it fires the signals to your body to move, sometimes those signals get crossed. And so dystonia is kind of in the Tourettes, kind of in the seizure family. It's there's over 200,000 cases of it in America every year. So it's very common, but I don't think people know about it. Or at least that's kind of what my experience has been with it. There's a range of how dystonia affects a person. So, at the lower end, you've got people like me right now who have symptoms very rarely, and then you have people at the very extreme end who have constant symptoms all day, every day, debilitating, can't, function as a normal, person because they're being debilitated by their dystonia. The type of dystonia that I have is called kinsinogenic familial dystonia. And so what that means is that the kinsinogenic part, it means that it's triggered by movement. So for me, for going from sitting to standing, walking to running, that's when the episode is triggered for me. Familial means that it runs in my family. So we know for sure that my dad has it, and then I have it, but we don't know beyond that. And I'll explain why in a little bit. And then dystonia is obviously the movement disorder that we have. So I was diagnosed with dystonia when I was in the 6th grade. I was completely normal before that. Not that I'm not normal now. Normal's a shitty word to use, but just, roll with me. So it was the 6th grade, and we were all lined up along the portable, and we were waiting for the end of day bell to ring, and then we all would run to catch the bus. So we're all standing along the portable, one hand on the portable, that was the rule, and we're all waiting for this bell to ring so that we can, off to the races, be first in line for the bus so you get the best seat on the bus. So this one particular day, we'd been doing this for, a while, summertime, you get to kind of line up at the end of the day, and this one particular day, the bell rung, and I go to run, and I get 10 or 15 steps, and then my legs start flailing kind of underneath me, and I just come to a stop, and I'm like, whoa, that was weird. Okay. So, everyone else is gone by now because it was a race and I lost. But so I'm like, all right, strange, whatever. I go to the bus, forget that it ever happened. The next day, we're all lined up against the portable. Bell rings, go to run. Exactly same thing happens. It's like, that's weird. All right. So now I'm thinking what is going on? And then it starts kind of happening all the time. So every time we do this run, anytime I would just get up from my chair. And the way that I could describe it is that, filling legs or whatever, but so just from standing up, I would get this sensation kind of all from my feet. It would come all the way up my body, and my whole body would just kind of tense and roll into itself. And I mentally, cognitively would be all right, don't move, don't move, don't move. And I'd be squeezing my body really hard so that I wouldn't I don't know what it would do, but I could feel this wave, and I didn't have control over it, so the only way that I can control it is to just hold on tight, you know what I mean? And so I would end up with just right now, my nails would be embedded in my hands, my toes would curl in, my whole body's tensing, my hands are twisting in, my face would start to, the muscles in my face, it would contort. It wasn't pleasant, and it was happening all the time. So anytime I would get up to move anytime I would go from standing to running. So then I'm starting trying to like manage it. So I'm like, okay, so what if I just kind of like bounce around a little bit before we run? That kind of helped. What if I kind of like, before I go to stand up, what if I like start kind of like moving a little bit and like, touching things, and then like kind of like using the muscles in my legs a little bit before I stand up. That kind of helped a little bit. But it was just getting kind of like worse and worse and more persistent. So I went from like never having an episode ever to having them like all the time. And it was kind of scary, to be honest. I just kind of figured that I had a brain tumor, and I was kind of just waiting for it to get really bad and that I would like pass out or something. And then, because I don't know, I was like, I didn't want to tell anybody about it because I was kind of like, I don't know, and nobody noticed. Nobody ever saw these things happening. So it was kind of like, I don't know, I was like, is this, I don't know, my 6th grade brain was like, keep it to yourself. If it gets really bad, one day you'll just fall over and then somebody will have to help you and you'll have to go to the emergency room. This might be where my hypochondria comes from. Just throwing that out there. So anyways, it kind of plateaus in its intensity, which was very intense at the time. I stopped volunteering for stuff. I held myself back at sports. I like wasn't actively putting myself out there anymore because I was like, I don't know if my body's gonna cooperate. No more was I raising my hand to like volunteer to go to the front of the room. I just was like, let me kind of like remove myself from as much as possible so that nobody notices that anything's wrong with me. So it kind of like progressively is, not good. And then I used to go away to summer camp, so I went away to summer camp, and then my parents picked me up from summer camp, and on the way back, we stopped at this little like village, or I don't even know what it was. There was like shops, and it was like a boardwalk, and so we're at this place, and I'm like parked on a bench, and my family's like, okay, let's go, and I'm like, I can't. And they're like, what's going on? And I'm like, I can't move my body. Like I need a minute, I can't get up. And they're like, what are you talking about? And so I like, finally, I'm getting like emotional thinking about it. I like tell them, that my body's been doing weird things and I don't have control over it. And it's emotional because it was just such like a scary thing, and I didn't know what was going on. But so immediately, obviously my dad hearing me say this triggers for him like, shit, this is what he's been dealing with for his like entire life. So backtrack to my dad, I guess his kind of came on a bit later, maybe when he was like 17, 18, 19. And so now I kind of attribute that to like going through puberty. So, I was maybe starting to go through puberty in the 6th grade. I got my period by like the 8th grade. And so men obviously go through puberty later. So, maybe, 16, 17, 18, that's when he was going through it. And so that's when his symptoms presented. A doctor has never confirmed that. That's just anecdotal. But so when he starts experiencing this, he goes to his parents, they go to the doctors, they do MRIs, they do spinal taps, they do CAT scans, every test in the book they do, and everything comes back normal. And so same for me. I have MRIs and I go to, do all these tests. Everything's completely normal. So back then, what they tell him is that, he is the cause of his condition, that it's psychosomatic, that he's having impure thoughts, that, he just, he's making it up, basically, and if he could just be a better person, that these symptoms will go away. fast forward 40 years of medical advancement, and we go to my doctor. My GP refers us to a child neurologist. We go to the child neurologist, and within that first visit, within 20 minutes, he was like, "You have dystonia. Here's a pill that might make it better." So, yay for me, because basically almost as soon, there was probably like a 6-month period that I didn't tell anybody what was going on. And then maybe like 4 or 5 months to get to this neurologist. And then immediately we're just like trying different drugs. So I don't remember all the drugs that we went on, but the two that were kind of the big ones that I remember, the first one that I went on was a beta blocker. And so the beta blocker worked okay, but not like fully encompassing, like it didn't get rid of all of the symptoms. But by this point, I kind of know what I have and I'm kind of managing it. So I'm doing those things where I'm like moving a little bit before I get up. I'm like, actively, I used to do competitive dancing. So, before you run out on the stage, I would be in the wings and I would be like, moving around and jumping around so that I never had to go from 0 to 100, because that's when my symptoms would trigger. So the beta blocker was okay, and I was on that for a couple of years, but it wasn't like, solving the problem completely. So then I went on Tegretol, and I was on Tegretol for a number of years, and Tegretol basically got rid of all of my symptoms. Occasionally something would flare up, but really for the most part, Tegretol got rid of everything, which was great. But then, moving into this healthy wellness lifestyle, I was kind of like, do I need to be on a drug every day? And, I hadn't had a symptom in a really long time. So I kind of started experimenting with like, taking a pill every other day, or, lowering my dosage. I was still having episodes from time to time. So by the time I'm like 23, I'm working full time, and I'm kind of like experimenting with my dosage, and I may be having, 1 or 2 episodes a week. It's really lowered. So I'm like, all right, maybe I just, completely go off, because Tegretol can build up in your liver. I would have to go and get blood tests every once in a while just to make sure that, I wasn't having too much of it built up in my system. And I just didn't want to be on a drug every day. So I kind of went off of it, and then I just kind of dealt with it, because by this point I'm like 24, 25, and my symptoms are pretty manageable. I know how to manage them personally. I can feel it coming on. I know what's gonna happen. And they, for me, only lasted maybe like 10 to 15 seconds max. So I'd be like, all right, this is fine. I can remember one particular day where I just had a time, and it was whatever. But so sometimes it would be worse than other times. And I think now even, I'm 31, and I attribute that to stress. So when I'm really stressed out and not taking care of myself, and I'm just kind of like burning the candle at both ends, that's when the symptoms will kind of come back. But by this point, now that I'm 32, I really it like comes up so infrequently that when it does come up, I'm like, oh yeah, I still have this. And for my dad now, who's over 70, he hardly ever has it either. So, I mean, honestly, we won the dystonia jackpot, because, it came on when I was in the 6th grade, and by the time I, was in my early 20s, it was almost gone. So, if you're experiencing it way worse than that, my heart goes out to you, because just for the little bit that I had to deal with it, not fun. But honestly, stress management, eating well, all of those things have made the symptoms so much better. The other thing that kind of goes along with this, I don't know if they're interconnected or not, but both my father and I experienced the same thing. Around about the time, maybe even before the dystonia set in, the migraines came in. So I would get terrible migraines starting at about, the first one I know we were on vacation in Arizona, because I'll never forget that. It was the worst. So maybe I was in like the 5th grade or the 4th grade. And then though I would get those quite frequently until we started figuring out food triggers and what to avoid, and sometimes it would just be the weather and what the heck can you do about that, but you can certainly eliminate all the food triggers. But so the migraines kind of came on, and the migraines I feel like precipitated the dystonia. So, and that was the same way for my dad. So my real takeaway from this whole experience is that obviously for my dad, it was a really shitty thing for a really long time. And even now, he's got some really shitty feelings about it. I get it. For me, it was really shitty for a little while, but I had a diagnosis and I had medication and I could manage it. So for me, it's kind of like an inconvenience, you know, whatever. Maybe I have a little bit of psychosomatic thing from thinking I had a brain tumor for a while. I don't know. But generally, you know, it hasn't super impacted my life. You know, in little ways, but not in big, huge ways. So what I'm thinking is that if ever I have children, I'm going to be more open with them, because he wasn't open with me because he didn't know that it was a thing that could be passed down. Whereas now I know that it's a thing that I could potentially pass down to my offspring. And, you know, is that a reason not to have kids? I'm pretty happy I'm alive. I am. And I don't think that it was, you know, the most terrible thing ever to experience. But so I think that I would be more open with them and let them know, you know, this is what it is and this is what I have. And so if you ever experience something like that, please let me know right away, and then we'll, you know, deal with it. I do think about that though. I do. Anyways, that was my experience with dystonia. I just wanted to share with you guys because I feel like it's something that I've been pretty guarded with my whole life. I haven't really told a lot of people. A few of the really close people to me in my life know about it. Obviously my best friends, my family. Really, but if I could be an advocate to you in any way, if I could help you with this in any way, if you want to talk about it, please let me know in the comments below, because, you know, in sharing my experience, maybe it helps you with your experience, and maybe we could just be buddies about it. Alright guys, that's it for now. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any specific questions that you want to know, let me know in the comments below. I'm always happy to make more videos and to answer your questions in that way, if it makes sense. Okay, bye. Yeah, that's about it.